the riots for Floyd and others, they're not organic. They are funded, they are fueled, okay, by some really evil people who want to see our country divided. What they do is they prey on the emotions of people who are shocked and hurting, and that's what they're masters at. And they can take that pain and suffering, and they need it. Every movement needs a villain, right? BLM, who did they need? They needed the police. So they used a false narrative to go after the police and motivate people to tear down the city to get politicians to yield.
I mean, what a week, what a couple of weeks. We are in the middle of something really big in this world. I brought to you last week the footage from London, where so much of the United Kingdom has decided to band together for their values, which are Christian-based, and they are against all the illegal immigration that's been going on in the UK. We've seen such a similar thing here in the United States, and then we see the death of Charlie Kirk and what it has ignited. It's astonishing. It's astonishing. And our next guest, Officer Deon Joseph, agrees. But he also does something remarkable in this interview. He defines racism. And as a Black American who grew up hating the police and then later became a police officer, and now his son has, this is a remarkable interview. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening or watching. Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Hit subscribe. We'd love to have you listen every single time. Officer Deon Joseph is next. Well, I understand congratulations are in order for you, Officer Deon Joseph, because your son just graduated from the police academy. What does that make you feel inside? For a long time, I've been telling you about my friends at besthotgrill.com. So if you're tired of replacing your grill every couple of years, you'll want to check out the Hot Fast Solaire Infrared Grill from besthotgrill.com. I have one of these. It is amazing. Solaire makes these amazing American grills that heat up to 1,000 degrees in just 3 minutes. Yeah, I said that right. 1,000 degrees in just 3 minutes. Solaire infrared grills eliminate flare-ups and consistently make the tastiest, juiciest, most flavorful food. The Solaire infrared grills heat your food directly, not the air around the food like conventional grills do. And Solaire's been making infrared grills for 20 years and has really dialed in the design. Experience the Solaire infrared grill firsthand with the Solaire demo rental program. This is a great idea. You can try Solaire before you buy with the foods your family always enjoys, burgers, chicken, steak, without a salesman breathing down your neck, and see why Solaire is the last grill you will ever buy. Learn more at besthotgrill.com. besthotgrill.com. Try before you buy with the Solaire demo rental program at besthotgrill.com. Well, I understand congratulations are in order for you, Officer Deon Joseph, because your son just graduated from the police academy. What does that make you feel inside?
Well, it makes me proud, also worried. I've been doing the job for almost 30 years, so I know everything that comes with it. But I'm prayed up, and I just love how proud he is. And he whispered in my ear when I pinned the badge on him, "Dad, I did this for you." And I'm like, "No, son, no, don't do it for me. Do it for you. I'm proud of you." And it's just a range of emotions I'm feeling right now. So,
Oh
yeah.
my goodness. I can't even imagine what that moment must have been like for you. But yeah, what a really cool story. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, I find, but that's a beautiful thing, public service. There's been a lot going on. You've posted a lot about it. You're one of my favorite follows on X, and I encourage people to go there. You can see his address underneath right there. Charlie Kirk and we're now multiple days out from the assassination. Mm-hmm. I find that I'm sad that I saw it so up close because I can't forget it. Mm-hmm. But I am really grateful for how vulnerable his wife has been to show
Right.
us what strength in really looks like,
Hmm.
and even posting, a video of her sitting by his coffin before she had to tear herself away, which I can't imagine what that took.
Yeah.
Overall, what are you taking away from not only the murder but the reaction to it?
The mistake I made before coming on today was I didn't get a chance to watch the service yesterday because I was celebrations and parties and stuff like that for my
Yeah.
son. I made the mistake of watching it this morning, and I have been in tears literally on and off for about an hour. So forgive me if I'm not as on point as I usually am, but my feeling is they have just started something. They, as in the people who have been spreading the hate that led to inspiring this young man to kill, they have started something that needed to have been started years ago, and I'm glad it's happening. They have probably created probably hundreds of thousands of new Kirks out there, and I, for one, am so glad that people are developing the bravery that he had to say enough's enough, enough of trying to be safe with my speech, enough of trying to not offend anybody and trying to be politically correct, because in doing so, the inmates have now taken over the asylum, and we have to get the hearts and minds of people back and get this country back on track. So that's what I take from it. It was really a tragedy, something that I would never wish even on my worst enemy. But from it, I think good things are going to come.
That's really what I think a lot of people are seeing. The
Hmm.
response to the positive. The first thing is no riots, no looting, no fires in the streets, no protesting,
Right.
simply people uniting around this man and his memory. But you know what they're going to say to you, and I'm sure you've already heard it. Oh, he was a racist, Deon. Why would you ever support this Christian nationalist racist? And you would say what?
Well, people have to understand what the definition of racism is. See, what they've done is the left has done an incredible job of hijacking definitions and redefining them. Today, their definition of racist is anyone that disagrees with anything that they say. But really, the real meaning of racism is this: it's when someone believes that their race is superior, which in and of itself isn't racism. But you take that belief, a sense of superiority, when you take that sense of superiority and use it to harm and devalue others, that's what racism is. And what I've done, I'm going to fully acknowledge, I never fully watched a Charlie Kirk video prior to him being shot. I saw clips, I saw many things he said that I agree with, I saw things that were framed in a certain way that made me go, hmm. But after he was shot, I went back and watched many of his talks, his campus talks, and there wasn't racism in that man. His motivation wasn't racism. He just wanted to talk. Now he may have said some things that shocked people to get them into the conversation, which many people do. But at the heart of who he was, I watched one speech where he was telling African Americans that we're capable of doing anything. Racists don't do that. Okay, racists don't say that you can do anything you want in this country. And that's Charlie Kirk was no racist. He was no bigot. He was no white supremacist. These are labels that were put on him to keep many young people in the country from seeking any other way of thinking other than a progressive mindset, which has destroyed this country for the last 20 years. It's completely destroyed it.
It's amazing when you put it that way that the left used things against him. I never used to believe that people would be so calculatingly brutal in their politics, and over
Mm-hmm.
the course of time, and I'm sure you'll agree, we have seen how people will take a word or two out of context and use it to defame someone, use it to
Right.
derail that person's argument. And that's what I've seen more than anything. And I thought, well, they're just being lazy. They're not looking. No, I think you're right. It's by design.
It's by
For
design.
instance, when he said supposedly Martin Luther King was a bad guy, Martin Luther King Jr., it's has been painted as a womanizer by many, and so there he was a flawed man, just as we are all flawed.
Mm-hmm.
Charlie said something about the Civil Rights Act. his complaint with the Civil Rights Act was what it did to certain freedoms, not that it gave people equal opportunities and equal access. That was not his argument. But people won't do that. When he said, wives, submit to your husbands, they stopped there. They didn't say the rest of it. And you saw Erica Kirk on that stage say, wives are not slaves. They're not your employees. Right. They are your partners. They're not your rivals. I mean, clearly he was not a misogynist. So it's a little scary. When did you come to realize that the left was capable of parsing these words in such a way to incriminate other people?
Oh, this is not new. It's now out there for the public to see as a result of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But no, this has been going on. Character assassinations, ad hominem attacks, forcing their opponents, or in their minds, their enemies, to respond from the defensive rather than having a conversation based on a level playing field. You have to label them a Nazi. And first you have to explain that you're not a Nazi. And then they say, if you try to explain that you're not a Nazi and defend yourself, see, you're being defensive, that's proof that he's a Nazi. See that right there?
Yeah.
So the left has been masters of propaganda. They have, and I'm not calling people on the left Hitler. I don't want to compare people to such an extreme man. But let's not be naive to not state that they're not using his tactics from a propaganda standpoint. And this is what one of his lackeys said. One of his lackeys said, tell a lie, keep it simple, and repeat it over and over again until everybody believes you. Okay? That's how Hitler was able to convince Germans that Jewish people were their enemy and killed 6 million Jews and 4 million others. Another one said, tell a lie one time, a crazy lie one time. Nobody's going to believe you. You repeat that lie 1,000 times. Everybody's going to believe you. And this is what we're seeing. Listen, I think sometimes the people who brainwash us, who indoctrinate us on a daily basis, they are preying on our good nature. See, people who follow this aren't bad people.
Wow. Yeah.
See, listen, everybody wants to stop a pedophile, right? So if you hear a rumor that somebody's a pedophile, of course, in your good nature, you're going to say, I don't like that guy.
Yeah.
Because you heard it from somebody you trust.
That's the thing. It's who you hear from, the source. And politicians like to claim that they should be believed at every turn because they're elected officials. Yes. So, the Russia hoax, the Very Fine People hoax, all of these things that were repeated. And you're absolutely right. This is right. This is what they do. They repeat the Hitler stuff. They repeat the word fascist enough so that if you went on a college campus and you said, okay, so define fascist, they likely, they would know. They couldn't tell you, and they don't know the difference. And it's, I hope this is a moment where people are really discovering that. But let's talk about the upside of this and what we saw, what we've seen. Just people coming forward with their beliefs, their Christian beliefs, which has been such for whatever reason, and maybe you know the reason, people have been shy about it. They don't like to talk about their religion. Not all of them. Charlie Kirk was not shy about it. Right. Turning Point USA was not shy about it. But a lot of people would say, I'm not that religious, but I like what he stands for. What we've seen in the aftermath of this is a resurgence like I never expected. What do you see happening here? All right, quick aside, after nearly 30 years on the sidelines, yes, it was a long time, covered the NFL, covered the NBA, covered college sports, the Olympics. I learned that expertise comes from consistency and not from guesswork. The research that I did, that's why I've partnered with Sports Corner Daily. Their free daily picks keep hitting with analysis so sharp even casual fans can win. Now, the NFL season is live and there's no better time to jump right in. You will get 2 expert picks sent to you every single day, absolutely free. Just head to sportsdailypick.com and sign up. It only takes seconds. No cost, no risk, just smart winning insights. Don't wait. Get into this season. Get into it the right way at sportsdailypick.com. Sportsdailypick.com. Sports Corner Daily, where winners start their day. Go to sportsdailypick.com. What we've seen in the aftermath of this is a resurgence like I never expected. What do you see happening here?
For so long, and I hate that the death of Charlie Kirk is what was the
Yeah.
catalyst for this, but for so long, Christians had to self-censor themselves just to get along in society. See, cancel culture was designed to silence
Yes.
people in the country who you didn't agree with. But that's why I love consequence culture. That's different. Consequence culture focuses on something you did that you need to be held accountable for, actually. But so Christians were silenced for so long and so frustrated that, hey, like for me, I am a born again Christian, and I'm glad I'm able to share that with the world on this podcast. I will love Jesus Christ to the casket drops. And I remember when I was first a police officer and I was walking the streets of Skid Row dealing with broken people, I would use my faith. And I watched people's lives change so quickly and rapidly just from a prayer or just from tapping into that. And then an activist group that hates my guts, who have been looking for anything they can get on me and using their ad hominem attacks against me, said, "Ooh, we found it." And they went to my captain and said, "Hey, your officers out there apostolizing." And I wasn't. It's just I was talking to people in pain, and they silenced me. And for years, it was so frustrating for me where I could help you on a secular level. I can connect you to resources. But what about your heart? I can't lovingly attack your heart with what I know because I've had to self-censor myself. Or now Christians are racist because the Bible is a white man's Bible, which is a damn lie. Christians are homophobic. Listen, here's what I'll say about Christianity is this, or Islam or any religion. We don't have to sacrifice our values to love you. Okay. I have family members who are from the LGBTQ community. I have friends on Skid Row who are trans, and I have put my neck on the line to save their life because I love them with all of my heart. I have people who are Muslim, Jewish, and I don't have to sacrifice my love for Christ, my values, his tenements, his way for us to love anybody. But we're the only faith in the world where we're told to be silent, bow down, don't pray in Jesus' name. Okay. But I see imams praying in
Yeah.
Allah's name all the time. I see people doing, but when it comes to Jesus, oh, Joseph, I want you to speak at our event, but when you pray, don't pray in Jesus' name. I can't participate in an event like that. So
Yeah.
what I'm praying for is that this event restores the First Amendment, the freedom of expression. I love what's happening. I heard they're talking about public schools where kids are going to be allowed to pray in school. Listen, I don't believe any public school should force any religious ideology on anyone.
No.
But a public school should never tell a member of the free public not to bring a Bible to school.
Yeah, I have a problem with that as well, just because that is a public school is a government entity. It is taxpayer funded, and then
Yeah,
if you are stifling what a kid can bring to school simply because it's a Bible,
yeah,
that's interesting. That's. Let me ask you this pretty personal question, but I'm hoping you'll indulge me. You
mhm,
said you're a born again Christian.
right.
When did that happen to you?
I was 7 years old, and I was the kid who would play in church. I didn't like going to church. I was missing my Sunday cartoons, and I would just be rambunctious, and my mom would have to flick my ear to keep me quiet. And uh, so I was in the pews one time, and my mom flicked my ear, and I thought, okay, I don't want to get in trouble today. I want some ice cream after church, so let me listen. And the preacher was talking about how much Jesus loves you. And he said it in a way that really captured my attention. And of course, I'm a kid. Any kid could get influenced by anything. So I took it to heart. I got baptized, but that wasn't the moment for me. The moment for me was watching my parents walk in the faith, watching my mother literally bring people into her home who were broken, who needed to be healed, 41 foster children who had been sexually assaulted, molested, homeless, handicapped. I saw her kidnap a kid from a hospital that she was taking care of because the hospital was trying to kill them because they made a mistake. Bring them home, lock all the doors, and bring this kid back to life through prayer and natural medicines and things of that nature. I saw them walk their faith. And that was what they made God so real to me that there's nothing anyone can tell me. And then in my own life, Just looking at my career, I could feel God's hand on me with pretty much everywhere I stepped. It's almost like He made a way. I didn't want to be a police officer. I hated cops. I was a young black male who was indoctrinated to hate and fear law enforcement. And then, unfortunately, I needed a job. And I get out there and I end up in Skid Row, one of the worst places in the United States of America. And three things about me back then: I was a germaphobe, right? The other thing is I'm a big dude. I love to eat, and there was no place to eat. And the other thing, being African American, I saw 80% of the people looked like me, and they were in the streets. They were naked. They were unclothed. They were mentally ill. And I said, God, I can't fix this, but God prepared me. He prepared me. He said, I prepared you. And I watched. He said, just look at your background, your parents helping to rescue 41 foster children, your dad hiring men who couldn't get a job anywhere else and turning their lives around, making them great fathers. He said, I prepared you for this. And after about 3 months, God let me know I was home, and I never left. I can't leave them, even if it's to promote. I can't. So you can't tell me that God doesn't exist. The lives through Him I was able to change, watching the miracles, like real life miracles in my life. There's no denying. There's
Well,
no
let
denying.
me ask you, because you caught my attention with the word kidnap. You said your mom kidnapped a child from a hospital.
Yes.
Uh, how much detail can you give me on that story? Because that one really,
Well, they can't get them now. My mom's got to give her rewards in heaven. So, but but years ago, my mom was, like I said, one of her foster children, and he got sick, and she took him to the hospital like she was supposed to, and they gave him too much medication or a steroid or something that really was, and they realized they made a huge mistake. So their goal was to continue, and she overheard one of the doctors saying, "Hey, we just got to let him go." And she came back in the middle of the night, and she picked him up out of the bed, and she brought him home. And for 2 weeks, I kept calling. Couldn't get an answer. I knocked on the door. They said, "Nope, you can't come in." I was like, "What the heck is going on here?" Right? And after 2 weeks, I finally came in, and I saw my foster brother playing on the floor. And my mom says we had to save his life, and she used remedies. She showed me pictures of him from the hospital with his head swollen this big from the medication he was given, and she used prayer and herbal remedies to
how old
save
was
that young
this
man's life.
child?
He was 6 years old.
Oh my
He was 6 years
goodness.
old. So those are the things my parents did. And when God tells them to do something, they move, they do it. And I'm the same way, yeah, once again, based on their walk, seeing them heal sick family members and counsel family members, feed the homeless in a responsible way. I can give a whole segment on irresponsible feeding of the homeless. Uh, I love what they did with foster children. See, they did things they weren't supposed to do. Uh, when the kids were dropped off with us, normally there was no communication with the parents. But my mom
With
and
the
dad were like
the biological
the
parents of the child.
biologicals, right?
Okay.
I love that with some of the parents who weren't really bad people, they just made a mistake. My mom and dad would sneak over and go to their houses and witness to them and teach them how to be good parents, and which would expedite the process of them coming back, getting that together, and those families ended up thriving because these are the wonderful things. It was faith in action, and I want my faith to be in action. I don't want to be told that, Joseph, you can't use Christ to help change people's lives. No, I can't use Christ to enforce the law. Okay, my badge says protect Muslims, Christians, Jews, Sikhs, even devil worshippers. My badge says protect straight people, gay people, legal, illegal, whatever. It doesn't say protect a certain. I don't use my faith to enforce the law. But if there's a moment in somebody's life where they're hurting and everything else they've tried hasn't worked, you tried a drug program that didn't work, you tried counseling that didn't work. I want to figuratively take my badge and gun off, sit next to you, and share something with you that's benefited my life for 52 years. And that's what I hope this tragedy is going to bring forth a boldness in Christians to go out and share their faith like anyone else. Like I want Muslims to be able to do the same thing. I want Jewish to share the best aspects of their faith to help change people's lives. That's what I pray is coming from this. And I'm emboldened. I'm more emboldened than ever right now.
It's going to be really interesting to watch what unfolds here over the next several months and even years to see if people actually continue to walk the walk. They say that church attendance is up. People are saying they want to be bold in their faith. It's really interesting to me, as we talked about at the beginning, how Charlie Kirk gets murdered in front of a crowd on a college campus. No riots, no protests, none of that, just prayer vigils. and then this incredible outpouring and this memorial that was streamed by over 100 million people worldwide. We know he touched lives in South Korea. I know in the UK. I know that Charlie Kirk was not just an American figure, he was a global figure for
Right.
so many. It's really interesting to me to see the sort of the difference between the positivity of his this group, these people
Hmm.
that want to follow, and then the actual, I mean, it's borderline evil what some people have said about him online or
Yeah.
in public, or you take some of these, AOC and Jasmine Crockett and the things that they are saying,
Right.
so uninformed and so vicious. And I don't think either of them ever had the guts to go sit across from Charlie Kirk and hammer out these differences in a civil debate. And yet now, in the wake of his death, when so much of the world is waking up, it seems, these people are literally trashing the guy, and it's disturbing to me. I mean, it seems like we're witnessing a really clear-cut line between light and dark. Am I being over dramatic here?
No, you're not. No, you're not. Let's go back to your point about riots. Why were there no riots with the death of Charlie Kirk, a man with such a high impact and magnitude in the lives of people around the world? Because the riots for Floyd and others, they're not organic. They are funded, they are fueled, okay, by some really evil people who want to see our country divided. They
Who do
need
you
to see
think
it.
those people are, Dion, before you
Well,
keep going?
they're individual, billionaire philanthropists. Everybody's throwing Soros out there and other people
Yeah.
out. I understand there's some guy in China who's also funding a lot of these things. So those riots aren't really organic. What they do is they prey on the emotions of people who are shocked and hurting, and that's what they're masters at. And they can take that pain and suffering, and they need it. Every movement needs a villain, right?
Yeah.
BLM. Who did they need? They needed the police. So they used a false narrative to go after the police and motivate people to tear down the city to get politicians to yield. That was my biggest problem with the whole George Floyd riot, was when our politicians took the knee. I could have stood. I was on that line for I think 12 to 14 days, not seeing my family, losing weight, getting called everything but a child of God, trying to stop the chaos with a lot of my fellow officers. I would have stayed another 14 days if one politician said, "Hey, look, we understand you're upset by what you saw, but those weren't our cops. That was in Minnesota." I would have loved for one politician to say, "Hey, we get you're upset, but you're not going to come down here from New Jersey, from Atlanta, from Dallas, Texas, where we were discovering they were from," because it was organized. They were getting paid Airbnbs to stay there, and then they were activated. We're not going to allow you to come. We're going to stick these 8,000 cops on you to stop you from tearing down our city. Not one time. They kept their mouth shut. They put their finger in the air to see which way the wind was blowing. They went with BLM. They weren't leaders at the moment. They were
Yeah.
followers in leadership positions, and these our detractors are masters of that, of preying on people's emotions, hijacking people's minds. If you can emotionally hijack anybody, you can control them. See, that's why when you're emotionally hijacked, you can't reason. So now, 2 years past Mike Brown being killed, now you're wondering why the hell you burned down your city when the first narrative you heard was a hijacked narrative about what happened. And the same thing with Floyd and others. So that's the difference. There are people with a vested interest in preying on people of color, people who are disenfranchised, and they use that sense of disenfranchisement to motivate them to help them tear the country apart while they sit by with their billions of dollars laughing. Well, with Charlie Kirk's incident, the people on the other side are people who are more based in reason, logic, objectivity. And when something happens, their first instinct is why, what happened, how do we solve it? And but first is obviously grief and caring for those who are suffering. So that's the difference. One side is organic, genuine, decency, and the other side is a calculated effort to manipulate people emotionally and cause havoc for their own political agendas. That's the difference.
I know you're not a Republican. You've said that.
Mhm.
How do you identify politically, or do you? Does that even come into play for you, Dion?
I'm just at a point in my life right now. I don't want any labels. The only label I want is child of God. That's it. Look, African Americans typically have conservative values, but I'm not going to pull a Jasmine Crockett and say, oh, but the other side is racist. That's not true. We have conservative values for the most part. We have been indoctrinated to believe that any other option other than the Democratic Party is going to get us out of a jam. And you would think after 60 years of exploitation and promises broken, I would have thought 2020, the Biden administration would have been the straw that broke the back to make us all wake up. They were about to completely erase the voice of African Americans and bring people from all over the globe to take away our vote, our voice on issues. I thought that would have woke us up, but I don't want any titles anymore. I'm just a child of God. I'm an American citizen I'm going to vote from here on out, and I've pretty much been doing so for the last couple of election cycles, for the best person for the job, who matches my values. And right now, I'm not going to lie, the Republican platform attracts me more than anything. But no, I'll never call myself a Republican. There's some things they can do better too.
Yeah, no question. There's
Absolutely.
got to be self-scouting. There's got to be that, let's not step on a rake while we're walking down this path that we've developed. But, there are some people that think they have stepped on a rake. One of those, and we'll finish with this issue because I have a feeling it's going to be with us for a little while, is Jimmy Kimmel's suspension. Now, to me, I have said this. I was on Gutfeld and I said this. I'll say it again, that when you say he was silenced, no, he wasn't.
No, he
when
wasn't.
you say this is the First Amendment doesn't exist, yes, it does. Because we got to remind people the First Amendment just means that government will make no laws to impede your ability to speak. But it doesn't say that your employer can get ticked off at what you say and say, you know what, you're out of here. Yeah. Now, people will say, and I understand this, that the FCC chairman, Brendan Carr, was too heavy-handed in his words. And I agree. I wish he hadn't have done that. I don't like those public verbal flexes that sound threatening. I wish that hadn't have happened. Let this happen on its own. I think it probably would have. So when people, and you're there in SoCal, and where a lot of Hollywood's going bananas, how do you respond to people that say, oh my God, the First Amendment no longer exists?
Their hypocrisy cancels them out. As soon as I hear somebody losing their mind over Jimmy Kimmel, and I remember you said, where were you when Tucker Carlson got shut down? You're literally hearing now the truth that the Democratic Party threatened basically big tech to silence. You have Mark Zuckerberg coming out and saying it. He doesn't have to. He's a billionaire. He could say, give you two fingers and move on with his life. He's saying that the U.S. government coerced him and others to silence millions of America. But where was their outrage? They were celebrating that. They were celebrating people being deplatformed. And let me be honest, some of the people who were deplatformed, I didn't like personally. Yeah. But damn it, I'll fight to the end to protect everyone's right to free speech, because the wonderful thing about America is, though they have the right to spew it, you have the right to respond back. You have the right to educate. You have the right to lovingly correct them. And, if need be, verbally punch them in the face when they're dead wrong. Verbally, don't punch anybody in the face. But no, you're dead right. The hypocrisy cancels out every bit of outrage, because Jimmy Kimmel, I didn't know he was still on personally. I'm not trying to be funny. I did, because I've watched him and he was never really funny. He went so political. Yeah. I remember Late Night. I remember Johnny Carson. I remember Jay Leno, where he kind of took jabs at everybody, but there was nothing mean-spirited behind it, where Kimmel and Colbert and those guys started going down a dark road that was dividing our country. And when I saw what he actually said, I was like, yeah, I could see a network step to him. Maybe I have a feeling that they were probably looking for some reason to get rid of him anyway.
Looking for the off-ramp?
And they found the off-ramp, and he gave it to him. So there's no First Amendment issue with me. Once again, it's not cancel culture, it's consequence culture. And you have to be held accountable. And I'm so glad that people are now being held accountable for the horrible things they say if they're representing a large organization. I'm a police officer. I can't say where I work, but there are certain things I know I can't say, or they have the right to fire me, because it's called code of conduct. And I think every entity, private or government, has a code of conduct. And you got to be mindful of that when you spew hateful things like celebrating the death of a father and a husband.
It's been so despicable what we've seen on X and other platforms of people disparaging this man and saying, "Oh, I
Right.
feel bad for his wife and children." But some
But
people even say, yeah, but some people even saying, "I don't. Thank God those children won't grow up with him."
right.
It's mind-boggling, and it makes me feel like some people are just trying to get more clicks. But either way, it's disgusting stuff. But guess what? None of them have been thrown into prison.
No.
None of them have been detained. They can
They have
go
been
on.
deplatformed?
No, they haven't been
No.
deplatformed. They can continue to spew their bile and their, and so can Jimmy Kimmel.
Yep,
And
absolutely. He can go to podcast. He can join Colbert, and they can just have a F Trump podcast.
yes, they should, exactly.
Who's going to
They can
stop him?
call it that, F Trump, on
Yeah.
Sirius XM or wherever you stream your podcast. Absolutely, that it's different when it's broadcast television because those are limited airwaves and they're owned by the public. The other stuff, go have at it.
I think the worst thing for me with this whole thing is people I know and love
Uh,
who are good people. I sat in a pew with you.
yeah.
We all sang and held hands about Jesus love, loving your enemies and pray for your enemies. Or and when I talk about, I'm not saying Charlie Kirk was their enemy, but in their mind, he's their
Yeah.
enemy. What happened to pray for your enemies? What happened to loving your enemies, turning the other cheek? What happened to all that? And that's been gone out the window with people who I love. I don't recognize them over the last couple of years. Some of them back then even almost celebrated the near assassination of a president of the United States, like him or hate him. So that's what's breaking my heart is when I see people who I've known for years who but should be preaching one thing, but have completely discarded the word and and just embraced something so dark. So, but like I said, unfortunately, this thing probably, I hate to say it, had to happen, but everything happens for a reason. For us to once again start speaking out, everybody, not just Charlie Kirk, everybody has a responsibility to engage.
Yeah.
Everybody, and it's time we all did that to get our country back to a place of civility.
Yeah, I agree. It's been gone too long. He is Officer Deon Joseph. We've shown you where you can reach him at his website and on X. A great follow, and happy to have you back for the second time. Thanks so much for taking the time. I always end the podcast, Officer, by saying be brave and do good. You and now your son are just embodying that phrase, and I'm grateful for both of you. Thanks again.
Thank you. God bless you. Take care.
Hey, you can keep up with the Trump administration when you subscribe to the Trump Report. It's an email that brings you daily highlights from the Oval Office right to your inbox 5 days a week. Subscribe today at SalemPodcastNetwork.com/Trump.